Alright, so good afternoon, good morning, good evening. This is, I'll name this segment later, spit that grease, etc, etc, etc. Names in the works. Alright, so hopefully you guys are all doing well. I'm working with a new program. Hopefully that snare or some of that buzzing will fade out a bit. I'm doing this on my own because I kind of need to learn. So we'll see if, I'm just messing with different audio levels. Hopefully it gets worked out, or at least over the next few videos. Hopefully you guys will see some type of improvement. I hope. In any case, speaking of which, real quick, for those of you who are Meerkat fans, which means just about everybody, Meerkat, it must have been in like early 2024 or 2023. He had found a alternative to YouTube Music. Can't remember if it was like an app or if it was a website. Like I said, it was like an alternative to YouTube Music, and I meant to look into it and I couldn't find it, and I can't find the stream that he was speaking about it. But if anybody remembers, just leave the name down in the comment section below if you don't mind. I very much appreciate it. I would reach out to Meerkat, but it's probably, I don't want to bother that guy. But so in any case, if anybody remembers what I'm talking about or whatnot, just let me know. I don't know if it was, like I said, it was an app you could download to your PC, or if it was just like a site. It runs off YouTube Music. It's just like an alternative player, if you will, or something along those lines. Anyway, anybody who can come through with that, I very much appreciate it. Anyway, the title hasn't, now we're past TED Talk, let's get into the TED Talk. For those of you who, if the actual title hasn't given me away, I'd like to speak to you guys, even though there's a bunch of stuff going on currently. I'd like to speak to you guys about DSP's deep resentment for side-scrollers and their expansion into politics and DSP's warped sense of past success in the current circumstances. So, let's remix that a little bit. I want to speak on and get your opinion on DSP, his resentment for side-scrollers evolving and expanding, and how he believes they should still stay the same because look at all the success they had in the past. Why would they want to change something that already works, and how that applies to DSP. Ready? Let's go. So, DSP's resentment to side-scrollers being something different than what it is, I think in a way, and I think this really speaks to his anger, frustration, and animosity towards Craig in particular, Stuttering Craig, is that he looks at Craig as part of his past, part of a better time, a more successful time, a time where he felt like he was relevant, he felt like he was important, so on and so forth. And Stuttering Craig was probably one of the last remnants of that. Let me explain. Let me expand upon that. YouTube channel's dead. Fan base is dead. Any type of connections that he could have had or he did have with any other companies or publishers or anything, dead. Friends gone. Girlfriend gone. All that stuff's gone. All that stuff is blown away. You know what I'm saying? He shitted a lot of it away, to be honest. But that's gone and over with. Stuttering Craig may very well be one of the last remnants, and side-scrollers, was the last remnants of a better time for him. And I think that's why he hates it so much. I think that's why he's so resentful for it. And I think, honestly, if he was able to get past that 5-hour interview, lying, of course, and was able to get a revolving seat on the show, kind of like Razor Fist did until stuff came out with him and Goonergate, what's it called? Goonergate. When that stuff came out, he wanted to bounce out for a bit. But if the show had evolved while he was with it, he would feel like he was part of that precedence, right? He would feel like he was part of their growth, and he may have even helped spur it. But since it was done off of his back, off of his baby backs, right? I think he's pissed off about it and he won't let it go. And I really think that's really what burns his bacon more than anything, to be honest with you. And it really chaps his pork chops and his pork grinds, is the fact that they had this successful thing over a decade ago, maybe if not damn near almost 2 decades ago. He doesn't understand why they can't bring that back and keep going. The thing is, we all know that DSP watches side-scrollers. No one here has any type of qualms that that's not a thing. The problem comes down to, he doesn't like what he sees because he's not part of it. They still talk about games. They still bring people on to speak about games. Them going into politics was probably something Craig was always going to do. He was always going to go into politics. That's why he had Travis, and that's why he had Adam. So that was always going to be a thing. Yeah, those guys play games too or whatever, but they were always going to dip into politics. It was always going to be the way to go about it. So let's go ahead and scratch that off. DSP's resentment really comes from the fact that they basically built something off of him. If he was honest with them or whatnot, he probably could have been still part of that show. But then again, he couldn't be honest with himself. So how's he going to be honest with anybody else? That's the problem. It was always the problem. It was always the issue. But truth be told, what was DSP really going to bring to that show anyway, if you really look at it? In its current format, or even in the format they had before their beef with Review Tech USA, which it wasn't even a beef. That was Review Tech USA sticking his nose where it didn't belong. Should have been taking care of his kids. Anywho, where was it really going to go? You know what I'm saying? He would have came up there, given a fucking milquetoast, middle of the road type shit, unless it was FGC based, and nothing else would have really have happened. After a while, the very people that he was trying to appeal to come to his show, or whatever you want to call it, and give him money, would have grown tired or resentful of him. He's just a spiteful, unlikable individual. You know what I'm saying? And it really comes down to not just how he acts, but how he thinks. And then he would have been just as fake with them, and he would have lied to people in the audience about his opinions just as easily as he lied to their face for 5+ hours. Now, let's talk about the whole thing about past success in the current situation. If Craig tried to go ahead and, if Study and Craig tried to redo what Side Scrollers was back in the day, that shit would have died out, to be honest with you. The fact that they made it as far as they did, no disrespect, the fact that they made it as far as they did and they're doing as well as they're doing is still a surprise in itself, but it was a bunch of very good moves and a lot of luck. I'm not willing to say that they were calculated. It was just a bunch of very good moves and a lot of luck, to be honest with you. Even I watch Side Scrollers every once in a while to see what they're talking about, if it's something that I feel that's interesting and whatnot. I don't care too much about the politics shit, but some of the people they bring on to talk about games, it's pretty good. And hearing Yellow Flash give some of his opinions on stuff, you know, it's pretty good. So there's that. DSP would have never fit there in the long run. DSP is destined to be alone, and it comes back down to his mentality. It's how he views things. It's how things are structured in his head and how he believes things should be. Just because something was successful back in the day does not mean it can make it in the current climate. He himself is the example of that. Now, this is where we get into surviving and thriving. Surviving and existing. I'm sorry. This is where we get into surviving and existing. DSP looks at himself as a survivor. You know what I'm saying? He walked up and down Schitt's Creek and he came out clean. You know what I'm saying? No detractor was able to keep him down or take him down. It wasn't wasn't DSP Cult Leader, wasn't Evil AJ, wasn't SOK, it wasn't Tevin, it wasn't Duty, it wasn't yada 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 yada. It wasn't Secret Limited, it wasn't Snort Burnell, it wasn't any of them. They couldn't do it. He's still here, he still exists, right? He's still thriving, at least so he thinks. The truth is, ladies and gentlemen, I've been telling you this forever. He's just existing. He's just that. He's that piece of trash that's in the street that's being pushed along as the wind comes around when it comes around. He's that can or that stone that's just being kicked down the road until the next person decides to kick it down the road, or it gets stuck somewhere or lodged somewhere for a little while until it continues to get pushed down. Truth be told, that's the only thing that PPP and fucking Kino Casino are doing, really, except for they're actually trying to figure out a way to profit off it. Save that for later. But that's really all it comes down to. He doesn't understand what it really is to survive. He's just existing. And that's all it is. There is nobody out here as a collective or an individual that's trying to get DSP off of the internet. Like, let's think big picture stuff here. That are trying to get him off the internet. If that was the case, it had been done. I promise you, it would have been done if that was really the case. You know what I'm saying? Let's cut out the bullshit about the profit. Let's cut out the bullshit about clout. Let's cut out all the extras. If they really wanted to get DSP up and out of pocket, they would have. You know what I'm saying? Now, whether he would have died slow like Wings of Redemption, or he would have garnered enough pity for someone else to pick his ass up like Boogie, it would have happened. If people really wanted Boogie up and off the internet, he'd have been done. Same thing with Wings. If those guys over there in the Wings troll community really wanted him up and out of there, he'd been gone. It is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Because every day would have been perpetual suffering. If someone cuts you off from all avenues to make money, what are you going to do? You're just going to be existing. And truth be told, if it wasn't for Keemstar and Lowell Cow Live, or the lolcow network, if you will. Wings, I guarantee you, would be in a fucking stupor in bed all the damn time, which is kind of what he's doing now. And Boogie would have sold off everything he had, and fucking Homegirl would be on the pole right now. End of story. You know what I'm saying? Until he dies. That's just the way that shit would have gone, to be honest with you. It is what it is. No one wants to put it like that because they're people and shit like that. But a lolcow's a lolcow, bro. You know what I'm saying? There's a statute of limitations. There's an expiration date on this shit, just like anybody else. You know what I'm saying? Even Christian doesn't have the following isn't as big as it was after fucking the Jinky situation or Fungus Girl or whatever that nonsense was. So that's the thoughts on that. I think that's where DSP's warped sense of reality comes from. He's never been good about change. He's never been good about people evolving and expanding. He's never looked at something that's going well and trying to build off of it, only to drive that shit into the ground and then try to find something else that could potentially do well. That's why he doesn't run a business. That's why he's dependent on YouTube. That's the reason why he's dependent on Twitch. That's why he's dependent on his individual dents, whales, and pay pigs to get him from one day to another. And that's how he's always been, and that's how he'll always be. You know what I'm saying? Until mommy and daddy die, until Linda and Dave kick the bucket, and if they don't end up fucking basically going through his inheritance to keep themselves going, when he finally gets over there, he'll owe so much in taxes and all kinds of bullshit like that, plus what he has to share with Melissa. He'll walk away with probably just enough to break even, if that. You know what I mean? So if that's the big windfall he's waiting for, it's not gonna happen. And just like the second coming or the third coming or the 10th coming of him on YouTube, that things will eventually get better, that he can do better. He just needs that one person to give him an opportunity. Nah, bruh. If you're not willing to hustle, if you're not willing to grind, if you're not willing to make the real changes needed of yourself, for yourself, you know what I'm saying? No one else is going to do it for you. No one lives in a day and age where this isn't COVID. You know what I'm saying? Where we're just passing out, where people are just passing out, you know, generosity like it's fucking hotcakes and shit. You know what I'm saying? It's not like that anymore. To bring up COVID, he made, or during the pandemic, he made good money, in a Lindy voice, for a couple of years there, and squandered it on garbage, like he's kind of doing now. It is what it is. And if he didn't prepare, if he didn't do what he needed to do, then he deserves a crash and burn. And it just is what it is. But the fact that let me go full circle now. So when you go back to his resentment for the side scrollers and Craig, that was supposed to be his way out. It's like the chick, it's like a chick in a small town and shit that finds somebody who is really going somewhere, who's really going to do something. They latch themselves on to that person, and then when it's time to actually get out, well, that person finds somebody else who would be a better fit for them and what they want, and you were just a side piece. And that's how DSP looks at that situation. He had so many hopes, and shit. Well, he just had a lot of high hopes. He had a lot of I don't want to say dreams, but he had a lot riding on side scrollers and stuff. He really did. He had a lot riding on it, and when it fell apart, he couldn't handle it. So when this inevitably ends up happening with PPP and Kino Casino, same concept. Now the thing is I don't think he's going to attack them the same way he's going to attack Craig, because he's scared of them. He's scared of PPP. Now, I don't mean physically scared of him, even though he should, because PPP outweighs him by like 300 pounds. But really, or Triple P as I like to call him. But that joke is never going to get old. I don't care what nobody said. It's just never going to get old. At least not to me. Truth is that he's not going to be able to go at PPP, man. You know what I'm saying? He just can't. They'll outpace him. Even Andy stuttering and on coke, he's not going to be able to beat. You know, DSP couldn't hope to beat him. Jesus Christ, DSP ran from Ethan Rauch. You know, when he was completely strung the hell out, the easiest win he could have ever got. Well, maybe not as easy as Review Tech, but you know what I mean. Close enough. And he went ahead and dropped the bag on that. So anyway, what are your thoughts? How do you feel about the situation? That's my initial thoughts on that. Every time he rants about stuttering Craig, it just adds to the ongoing narrative that I already have in my head, and I finally wanted to get it out there. And since I kind of have this kind of short form show where I could throw topics out there and make this stuff happen, I thought, why not? In any case, tell me what you think. if you feel anything about it. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been, I'll name this segment later, Spit That Grease, yada yada yada. And I'll catch you guys on the next one. Take care of yourselves, people. Later. And don't be a hater. Don't be a hater like DSP, being resentful of another man and what they have and what you thought they could give you and they didn't. Don't be like DSP. Later, people.